Hey everybody, welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. This is where you get just total crazy BS advice from a bunch of pseudo wannabe analysts who actually just learned about the tech industry yesterday from reading an article or something like that that they got an email from their AOL account. And so, yeah, exactly. So we're going to try our best to sound like we know what we're talking about and not lead you astray. But really, we're here to celebrate and lift up kids. Elevate Our Kids is actually why we do this. It's our charity. We're going to bridge that digital divide. We've got the kids who don't have computers and connectivity to do remote learning or homework or things like that. And especially, we saw that in COVID, but now we're really seeing it. We got all these fires in Los Angeles. We still have people who are not back in homes in North Carolina. And so you got a lot of people kind of doing that remote thing by hook or by crook. Some people are getting some help from Starlink, some people. And so it takes all of us to get in there and pitch in how best we can. And so
That's right.
Definitely go to elevateourkids.org and contribute so that we can get compute and connectivity to lots of these kids.
And there's some
but here we are
there too.
What's that?
There's some cool swag there too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
If you want to look like an IoT expert, you can buy a t-shirt. That's all you need to do. And then people come up to you and start asking you questions.
That's what we learned. Is by just wearing t-shirts, people think we're experts at something. So,
and by the way, Rob, your opening salvo was I assume that was the big disclaimer on like don't take us seriously, caveat emptor,
all that stuff.
Your mileage may vary. See dealer for details.
Exactly. Just in case
cents a mile after the first 10,000 miles, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Right. Just in case we drop a stock price in there or tell you, this is for entertainment purposes only, but you may find a hidden gem buried somewhere.
If you're not careful, you may learn something. That's what.
Careful. Welcome everybody. We got Tom. Awesome.
No, it's been
all the way
been a while.
Across the pond.
Yeah. It's been a while. Yeah. It's been a long time, months actually, I think. So thanks for having me back. Good to see some familiar faces and get back into the thick of it.
Absolutely. What's the latest with you, Tom? What's going on in your world, man?
Well, we're coming over to Austin next month. We're doing the event with Pete. So, we're looking forward to that. So we're at the Edge AI. I'm just going to see Rob, going to see Bill. Bill's there. Steph's coming. I know she's not on today. Steph's coming.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So everyone else needs to come, right? So you can fly in. It's
the epicenter of Edge AI is coming to Austin.
Yeah,
February 25th.
Yeah.
So
Leonard's already driving, right? That's why he's in the car.
He's driving there right now.
Yeah, he's driving right now
as we speak. Yes,
it's going to take that long for him to get there after hitting all the charging stations.
Yeah. Well, apparently he's going to do it on one charge as well. So let's see how he gets on.
That might be.
Leonard has a trusty and always reliable Honda 5-gallon generator in the trunk of the car, so he can pull over, crank that sucker up, and just charge for several more miles. Carbon free, baby.
I thought you were going to tell me that every time he stops, he actually has one of those bicycle power charger things, a stationary bike that he pulls out, sits next to the car and rides on it for a few hours to charge it up and then gets going again. It's also good for your health.
These are actually really innovative ideas, guys.
I think these are all legit. I
think you're talking crap. Someone's going to patent this stuff. There is genius in stupidity.
Right. What you need is a backseat. This is a backseat accessory for your EV, is like a little set of pedals, so your passengers can sort of keep pedaling, sort of Flintstone style.
Yeah,
and like keep recharging your battery.
You know what? It's good for your health.
Yeah, it's good for the circulation. I've seen those TV ads for the people that like move their feet while they watch TV. It looks good.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So the big news this week was something related to AI. Wait for it. Stargate.
Oh my God.
Is it Stargate?
Enter the Stargate.
Is that like some kind of portal or something?
Apparently.
Where does it have to
distorted reality portal, that's for sure. Some sort of
Where
does it have to rhyme with Skynet? I mean, where were the branding people when they were discussing this thing? And
I think they wanted to invoke Skynet, but not actually use the term. So it was like Stargate.
got it. But I do love the fact that return to office has absolutely been solved due to quantum teleportation being available now. I think this will have huge impact on productivity across humanity. Very excited.
Serendipity happens when people are together, right?
Yeah, but David said quantum. He said
the secret word. Kiwi's secret word.
Yeah, you had me at quantum, you know. Bill, what do you think about quantum? Is it BS? Is it real?
No, I mean, look, it's like anything else, right? I mean, it's real enough, and it's all research, and I mean, and that's it. There's a lot of I wish, I hope, you're 15 to 20 years away. I mean, I think Chattanooga said that they have a quantum network. They don't know what to do with it.
We have a quantum network.
We have a quantum network.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you explain that to me?
I bought a Wi-Fi router and it said quantum on it, and so I figured, well, that's what we got, you know.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's a lot of research. I try not to be all doom and gloom and everything like that. I mean, sure, I'm looking forward to it. Will I see it in my time? I have no idea.
Yeah. And so to your point, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, Elon came out and kind of said what you're saying, which we've probably all said here, that it's still, 15, 20 years out, and it crashed the stock prices of all the quantum companies. They all went right to the bottom. It's kind of like Leonard Lee just taking control of his Tesla and just driving it right into the abyss.
Well, until he announces his quantum initiative next month, and then
exactly.
Well, he's going to have quantum EV.
Quantum EV.
Yeah, I over the weekend, this course of this week, I coined a new term. It's called the fake economy. So it builds on top of the criminal economy we've been talking about, but there's all this valuation that's being pumped into fake stuff. Fake expectations, all these hype cycles. And I don't know how you win being so disconnected from like realities, because, we live in a physical world. And
we thought we lived in a physical world.
I mean, how do you compare? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's I think pendulums always shift back, right? I think this whole fixation on virtual digital, all this stuff with software defined XYZ, it's all going to go back to physical, where people are going to need to know the mechanics of the real world, right? Because and I got triggered at Galaxy Unpacked. They had this tech forum. And there was this young lady that got up there and said, hey, younger generations are more tech savvy. Figured me. I just went, you got to be kidding me. I said, why don't you go and rebuild an engine? My dad can do that. He can design advanced sensors for, and guidance systems for the most advanced weapons of the time. He knows how to do that. But what do you know how to do other than use a TikTok app and then dance in front of it and then post it on YouTube? How is that tech? How's that tech savvy? Quite frankly, that's like tech ignorant. You're app savvy. And, the detachment from the physical world, I think is quite dangerous, number one. And number two, look what's happening now. Everyone talks about, silicon, right? The hardware, the infrastructure. These are all physical things. And I think we're gonna eventually, over time, go back to that. But I don't know if we're gonna win the battle here of reality if we keep growing this fake economy. I think it's a serious problem.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. You're really dropping some heavy stuff on there, but I do remember, a
I got
character.
triggered, dude.
I remember a character in 2010 Odyssey 2 where he says, whether you're based on carbon or silicon, it doesn't matter. You should both be treated with equal respect. Of course, Roy Scheider is kind of like you going, well, I choose us, instead of how. Okay. You brought up something that I've thought about, and we're just totally diving into a tangent here, which is what we're all about here on IoT Coffee Talk, unrelated to IoT. You talk about a fake economy. I remember a long time ago, I wrote something, and I still believe it's true. This is going to be really deep. And again, caveat emptor, I think our economy is illusory. And what I mean by that is, and maybe you're thinking this too, this is some deep stuff. Is it possible that we have pretend capitalism in the United States? And what I mean by that is when you print money at the federal level and you have debt, what is it? What was the last thing? We're adding $1 trillion in debt every 100 days now. So we're pretending we have capitalism because everybody wants to be part of the capitalism thing and all that. But it's pretend, it's fake, like you say, because we're creating the illusion that it's all working, but when we're actually just printing money. And most countries would actually already fallen off a cliff a long time ago with the amount of debt. What are we at? 36 trillion, 38 trillion? I don't know. I've lost track.
Yeah, like 28 trillion, something like that.
Sure.
Or that range.
Give or take $1 trillion, right? And so you're like, is that a real economy? Or are we just pretending? Is there going to be a big bang? Are we going to crash into, are we all crash test dummies for the economy? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I would say there's a couple of distinctions. One is I think Leonard's talking more about the stock market than the economy. So I think there is definitely, the stock market's always based on sort of future expectations, and there's a lot of stories being told on stuff that's not really happening. I think on the economy side, there's real goods and services being manufactured and produced and sold, and on the whether that's financed through borrowing or finance another way, that's kind of like a whole other discussion, and whether that matters that much is also kind of a whole other discussion. So we have a great economy. I mean, arguably the strongest economy in the world. We just have a lot of debt that needs to be financed, and I don't necessarily have a major problem with that. As long as the economy, as long as we're producing goods and services and people are buying them, and vice versa, which seems to be the case. If anything, the Earth is producing too much and we're consuming too much, and that's kind of driving a cycle that's not super sustainable, but sustainable for for a while, maybe. Then
there you go. So our new Treasury Secretary, Pete Bernard.
You got to tag one more thing onto that, though, and that is, in the absence of debt, you have nothing. Because without that, what else is driving it? Everyone's trying to pay off those things. You can't, if you have zero credit, you get no credit.
True. You got to have some debt. There's a lot of good debt out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things that I guess it's a necessary evil, but if in the absence of that, you don't have anything. Everyone would just be happy.
And there's bad debt, but
when you're valuing a company, though, like if you're doing an M&A thing, that's one of the things you're looking at on their balance sheet is how much debt do they have that you've got to take on. And that's thought of as a negative, actually. I get what you're saying about credit.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually talking, an economy based on the reporting of activities like posting a snazzy new dance on TikTok and then getting paid by advertisers who then go and then pay for manufactured engagement and fake personas, fake influence. Think about how big that portion of the economy is. Then we have an increasing investment in infrastructures that support deep fakes, new cyber criminal capabilities, and this is where a lot of the investment's going. And so this thesis of generative AI fostering intent-based automation and personalization of your life, those are all hypothetical. What's actually true are the more nefarious and detrimental applications of technologies. They are very, very real. There's nothing hypothetical about these things.
Right.
I'm really excited to go to the RSA conference this year because in 2023 they thought they were on a high thinking generative AI is going to save the world. Okay, 2024 they were shitting their pants, going, "Oh my God! If we release this thing into the wild in our networks, this is like doomsday for us." This is what the CIOs, CISOs, and the practitioners are saying. Even vendors are stepping away from the thing, going, "Man, this thing is like not cool." This year, I wonder what's going to happen, especially with OpenAI, announcing that what's that thing called? Operator.
The agentic, their agents. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And Rob, you and I posted on that post by whoever. I don't know, dude. What did you think? It sounds like.
Well, it's just that whole just because you can, should you, right, kind of stuff. And they're excited as they make it work and everything like that, And then, as Morpheus told us in the Matrix, in the early part of the 21st century, mankind marveled at its genius as it brought artificial intelligence to life. Then the next moment, we don't know who struck first, us or them. And so that's we're kind of following that playbook, right? We're like, look how smart we are. Look what we did. Oh my God, we were so wrong. I always think of that scene from, remember the alien movie Prometheus, the woman, Naomi Pace. There's that scene where she's like, we were so wrong.
Yeah. That was a good movie, by the way.
That was a good movie. That was a good movie. Tom, how did you feel the other night, or it was the morning for you? It was the night. I remember I was at a bar in Portland, Oregon, and all of a sudden I got a dialogue box that popped up on my TikTok because Leonard was talking about the fake world that you and I live in because we're big time TikTokers. I'm not as big a deal as you are, of course. What was your, did that happen to you, or did it not happen because you're in the UK? Maybe nothing changed.
Nothing changed. Yeah. No, nothing changed at all. Right. We didn't get the dialogue box and life is good. We're still on TikTok. We're still loving it. I love your movie quotes. I love how you inject them, by the way. And they're so apt, Rob. This is so on the money. Yeah, I think it's a crazy time at the moment. The whole Stargate thing. I mean, it's just so. I just find it hilarious how everything is just named after films right now. You've got Doge and you've got Stargate, and then it's just like, what's next? But it's like art imitating life and life imitating art, right?
I think you're right. So I was studying, because focus on cloud infrastructure and data center and stuff like that. I was quite a while ago looking at a company called Crusoe. They're based in San Francisco.
Yeah, I know those guys.
And the news a long time ago was, hey, we're going to do this thing out in West Texas. We're going to use some excess energy. There's excess natural gas that comes off, because out in West Texas, this whole thing we're talking about is happening in this town called Abilene. And then just west of it is the Permian Basin, which is where most of the oil comes from, Midland, Odessa, all that stuff. If you watch the show Landman.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that first episode.
That's hardcore, isn't it?
That's hardcore. Billy Bob.
But it shows you what a tough life that is to be a roughneck out in the oil patch. Anywho, they were talking about this excess natural gas. They were actually originally going to build mini data centers or things out right in the oil fields and capture that energy right there. And they were working with a company called Lancium that's in the Woodlands, Texas. It's north of Houston. And they were doing this energy campuses, and they kind of got together and they were headed down a path, and then they decided to pivot and say, hey, and it was originally about Bitcoin. I think Leonard made a comment about craziness around Bitcoin lately, because that was the thing back at the time.
Crypto mining.
Yeah, Bitcoin mining. There's states, there's whole countries that think that they should spend all their energy mining Bitcoin. Actually, that's the most important thing they could be doing. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good use of energy.
Who are we to judge?
And so these guys got together out there, and then when the whole AI thing came about, they pivoted. Who else do we know that pivoted from being good for accelerating Bitcoin mining to accelerating AI. Our good friend Jensen, so NVIDIA, the hype around NVIDIA GPUs was originally for Bitcoin mining. It accelerated it dramatically. So anyway, it works for AI, so let's pivot. And so these guys are out there building this campus, and so they're building it out in this town called Abilene, and they're and there's also, this will seem strange to you, even though you think West Texas and oil, it's actually, there's the most wind and solar in the United States is also out there, believe it or not. And so they were really thinking renewables to power this data center. And then as they started construction of this data center out there and, driven by Crusoe, Oracle came in and and leased the whole thing. And Oracle has a multi-year lease on 100% of it. A lot of people were wondering, why did they see Larry Ellison in the Oval Office there with Sam and Trump and Massa? And that's part of the reason, is because Oracle already had a lease on that data center stuff there being built already. It kind of give you the backstory. How did we get here? How did those characters all end up there? You also, this weirdness, yes, Stargate had been mentioned before with OpenAI and Microsoft a little bit last year. Obviously, there's some weirdness. Like Microsoft has basically funded all of OpenAI's adventures via, here's a bunch of infrastructure. We're giving you free cloud infrastructure, billions and billions. I think, what was it, $13-14 billion that Microsoft invested in OpenAI and then Sam Altman's been like, I need more, I need a lot more, I want to get to AGI. You probably also heard the stories about, well, AGI actually is when we make $100 billion or something crazy like that. It's not even about science. It's about the fake economy that Leonard's talking about, right? And so there's a whole Microsoft deal. And so Sam had to spend some time with Satya and Nadella and adjust their deal that they have, because Microsoft has exclusive with OpenAI for all this stuff. And now Sam's like feeling like he's not getting enough or what he wants from Satya. And so then all of a sudden this thing pops up to get insane, compute that he needs to train even bigger and bigger and bigger models and stuff like that. And so he talks to Satya, and it's like, how do we adjust this deal? So Satya ultimately agrees to make an exception and change just a little bit of the deal so that it's not 100% exclusive. Sam can go get compute infrastructure from somewhere else. Also, ironically, to tie in Elon to this, since you're driving a Tesla, Elon had also looked at the Abilene site like a year ago or more, actually, and then ultimately passed on it and did the thing in Tennessee for his AI stuff that he's doing on X, and so the XAI, whatever. So that's an interesting tie-in. And so you say, okay, this looks like a net positive for Oracle. Initially, it seems like a net negative for Microsoft, because it feels like, oh no, Microsoft's losing a lot of that love. But it's really not a negative for them, because they still have all the rights to all the IP and everything that comes out of what Sam and company figures out at OpenAI. And they'll actually kind of get that benefit for free now, because Sam's found, we got Massa, we've got MGX out of the UAE funding money. Now the Saudis are going to drop money. Money's actually coming in from everywhere. I know, obviously you saw Elon on X going, there's no money. It's all fake. You don't barely even have 10 billion. Money's coming from all over the place. And so it'll happen. I think in the near term, though, all we're going to hear about is this one site. I think they might build up to 10 data centers in this giant campus, because obviously the other part of the discussion is none of this stuff happens overnight. This is a major construction project, right? Oh, yeah. And so it's going to take a while. I mean, the first one or two buildings of the data center will probably come online in the first half of this year, but it's all going to be Blackwell driven. And so we need lots of Blackwell GPUs from Jensen. Hey, Jensen, and so
there's plenty of those available.
Oh yeah. They're just, I saw them at a flea market the other day.
Yeah, that's right. I had a cardboard box filled with them at the local swap meet.
Yeah.
Rob, I'm somewhat disappointed and surprised that you're giving us this whole backstory. You're talking about Larry Ellison and what he's doing over there, but you're not telling us about his chain of cryo chambers that he's going to build, because that cat is like 99 years old and he looks like he's 36 and runs multi-marathons a week.
It's the transfusions of young person blood.
That's what it is. So I thought he was going to open a chain of these businesses that we can pay with meme coins and he generate money, and we can also stay young forever. I mean, Bill's a customer. I mean, Bill looks like he's 28. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I have a perfect name for that enterprise for him.
What is it?
You can call it Khan.
KHAN, like as in Wrath of Khan.
KHN.
Like
Wrath of Khan.
Like the Wrath of
Khan.
Yeah.
Sure.
Kirk, give me Genesis.
Little earworm thing.
Yeah, exactly. I hate that earworm thing. That really sucked. Big time.
By the way, with the Stargate thing, I would not be surprised if the Stargate stuff, first of all, so Stargate's just kind of a giant data center that's going to train a bunch of new models and stuff like that, which, you could argue I think Microsoft has like 600 data centers. I mean, yet another data center to train yet another set of models. To me, it doesn't feel very differentiated, except that Oracle's involved, which is kind of frankly, odd. I mean, I love Oracle, nice people.
It feels odd, but now you know why.
It feels odd. Well, they're there because no one else is, and Larry has the land. So but I would not be surprised. I think the next shoe to drop, and this total speculation, is I think we're going to see OpenAI sort of design their own chips. So I think we're going to see OpenAI chips as part of this project, because they're probably not going to get everything they need from NVIDIA, and they won't be at the top of the list to get chips relative to AWS and Microsoft. And
Pete, we're going to design and build in USA, right? Right, Pete?
Yeah, design and build, all subsidized by the CHIPS Act, a new OpenAI inference and training chips.
And what company is going to be taking advantage of that and is going to benefit from that special chip making? Could it be Broadcom?
Could be Broadcom. Yeah.
Maybe Intel can lease one of the factories in Arizona that has.
Oh, Intel will fab it. Fab it. It's OpenAI chip, powers a Stargate, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. What if you found out actually that the whole thing was a ruse? Like Leonard's saying, this whole thing, our whole life is an illusion. What if the whole thing was this giant machine that Larry Ellison's building to create eternal life? And some anti-aging, some kind of device, some kind of machine.
It goes back to the Leonard's Khan idea, I think.
Yeah, exactly. What if Stargate actually had a different meaning than we think?
You know what? Going back to that though, and I think so. One of the great potentials of this technology, this AGI stuff, is in weaponization. It's great at making stuff up. I mean, we have to recognize its fundamental competency. It's superpower. It can make stuff up. Accuracy, reliability, all these things are not intrinsic to a probabilistic system, right? And this is like what everyone's warning people about, but it could have tremendous value in generating like fake manipulative content. And I don't know, man. I mean, I think that's like the first tier of benefit before you get to, let's say, productive, beneficial AI. And, this whole thesis that accelerated computing is going to take over everything, I think is just delusional. There's huge benefit in programmatic software and applications that do, 1 + 1 = 2 without burning down a forest. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so this is where I think everyone is just people who should be smarter are losing it, or they're doing this intentionally for a different reasons that I think is not part of the conventional thinking. So
are you wondering?
Military R&D, okay. Then it becomes a private public partnership. to stay ahead of China, because I think that's what is really driving this anxiety, especially with like DeepSeek, that Chinese company that basically trained a model that's just as good as anything that OpenAI has done. In fact, OpenAI engineers freaked out. They're doing it off of A100s, which is like two generations behind. Old school stuff, and throttled down a much smaller cluster for 1/10 of the cost with the same amount, in the same amount of time, which is around 3 months. That should scare the crap out of a lot of people. And question, where's all this money going? And if the Chinese can do it for 1/10 of the cost and get a probably a more reliable model, I don't know. How do you compete?
Who said? Well, let me just say. But
so,
we've used the word ruse. So, okay, you have this thing at 1/10 of the cost, just as efficient. Why will you pay 10x the cost and make it less efficient if it's not to launder money?
Boom.
I mean, that's it. And then let's, next topic.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is reminiscent to like how the Indians launched and dropped a probe on the moon for like $20 or something like that, Yeah. Remember a couple years ago, people were like, they didn't need NASA and trillions of dollars and millions of people working around the clock.
Sure.
They go, oh, wait a minute, this is kind of easy.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But the issue is like these types of announcements like Stargate, now there's a whole bunch of other companies in other countries are saying, oh, we need to match the hype with our own initiative. Why are we falling behind, the AI gap? And so I think this is the shape of things to come. To Leonard's point, there's going to be a lot of storytelling going on. And I think it'd be wise for business leaders and other folks to keep their eye on the reality of what's deployable and developable and, doing.
Well, how can they when they have employees that are telling them we can do this?
Well, on a serious comment though, and to Pete and Leonard's point, it's also now a matter of individual national security. You have to keep whether it's military or your government, like whatever it is, there's going to be a lot of money exchanging hands because these governments have to use the technological advancements that are available to, protect whatever is most precious to them in that particular geography. Right. The idea of relying on someone else's infrastructure for your fill in the blank, right? We don't need to. It's going out of the window. Remember back in the day when Rob and I were young and we were talking to German companies about the cloud, and they would ask, "Where is that cloud?" And we say, "Well, it's near Redmond, Washington." That was the end of the meeting. So years later, we decided, "Hey, we've got a data center here in country,
right?
And
sovereignty. Data sovereignty, yeah,
right,
yeah, no." There's AI sovereignty is out there too. That's a big
Debbie speaks.
Sovereignty.
Yeah. Hello, Jen. Hello,
what a
Jen.
segue.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, we got to say, yeah, go.
I don't understand. So I guess I'm a bit confused about this whole Stargate thing. Obviously, it's a big push. It's going to be a big buzzword we're going to be hearing for a long time. And energy is important, but I feel like you can't really dominate in this space if you're not making your own chips. So, I think there's a gap there. And then also, all this money and attention going into Texas, which have a highly deregulated power grid. They can barely keep energy on for people who live there. I don't know what they're going to do with that. And then, I don't know. To me, there's just a lot of open questions about, I think infrastructure is important, but would I say infrastructure was the most important thing that we're lacking? I would say probably not.
Yeah.
I think if they were saying, okay, Stargate, and then we're going to work on X, Y, some of it is chips, some of it is infrastructure or whatever. But to throw all your eggs into the infrastructure bucket, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening, because even as someone said, I think Pete said, Texas does have a lot of renewable, right, energy, and some of the administration's things they're going after try to squash renewable. So it's like, to me, it's a bit of a Tower of Babel around how they actually are going to execute on this stuff.
Well,
my expectation
the largest part there is that, to Debbie's point, and I mean, Rob, you know this, ERCOT is a train wreck. And I mean, that's the bottom line. With all of the renewables that we have here, there is no way that we should have these brownouts and blackouts and we just shouldn't have those. So it's 100%. So this is the thing that I get from it. The Stargate whole concept, I'm waiting for it to become a debacle, because there is no way that you're going to have that many data centers running that many models using that much energy and have it be okay.
Well, but here's my expectation, though, and a lot of hyperscalers are taking this approach. They are building data centers with power plants included, and so behind the meter. So, I don't think Stargate's going to be using the public grid in Texas for their electricity, right? They're going to be building a power plant with the data center, probably nuclear power or something, and they will bypass the grid. And the issue is the grid is 50 years old and dropping half the amps that go through the grid drop on the ground or go into the air, and that's really the issue. So I don't think there's no hyperscaler building a new data center these days that doesn't already have power behind the meter.
Oh, well, that's the part. That's the part right there. When I say it become a debacle, that's part of it. Is that if you honestly believe that the reason that they haven't had broad use of the renewables is because of ERCOT. You're not going to circumvent the utility. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to arbitrage and either sell it back. So the people of Texas will have something to say about it once they start realizing what's happening.
But don't you remember the good old days when we were triaging and stuff with energy back at our Enron?
Oh my God, dude!
Yeah.
No, you know what? So, Bill, yeah, I mean, just speaking of debacle, man, I think it's going to be the WeWork of AI.
Well, because Masa's involved, and he's like, let's spend more.
And if it wasn't for this AI hype, his vision fund would be in the crapper still. And we can't forget SBB.
I don't want to.
What do you think, Debbie?
Yeah, I don't want to be a naysayer here about how this is going to happen, but I typically try to avoid cultural references of things, but I'm sure you guys have watched The Sopranos. But this all reminds me of the Scatino bust out, basically.
I love it. Because we're nothing without analogies to tie in movies and TV shows and songs and stuff. Because that's how people think, right? They think in movies, right?
Yeah, write the check, give me $500 million, and then we're gonna just ride the train as far as we can, and maybe we'll be successful, maybe not, but we get the money, and that's the point.
It's like there's so many crazy things. So for those of you folks let me look at the numbers. Okay, we're at 3 billion followers right now. For those of you not familiar with ERCOT in Texas, the R stands for reliability. And not renewables, but reliability, right? And I love Bill's, visceral reaction to this, to Pete's behind the meter comment, because you know what? It should be a cold day in Texas when a private company, by magic of money and other techniques, gets better, reliable energy than the people of state of Texas.
No, that's what happens today.
That's
It's not
right.
in the future. This happens now. Like data centers have their own power supplies that are not part of the public infrastructure in most cases.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But what they do is they have a deal with the utility around there.
Yeah.
They have that deal. So that's what I'm saying is that they try to make that deal with ERCOT, and the people are going to go nuts.
Yeah.
Well,
Making
people
deals
are already
too.
Isn't there an opportunity to, like Sam Satya's deal, to renegotiate and say, hey, you know what, we're going to use some of this money and we're going to underpin the R of reliability for the public side of the
Sure,
grid.
reinvesting to strengthen the grid for the public would be great.
Yeah.
Yes. Then let's, I don't live in Texas and I want better power for you guys.
Yeah.
Here's the bottom line about this thing. It's a friggin' press release. They got up on stage, threw up big numbers. Let's see if they execute on it and whether or not this turns into a golden goose or the WeWork of AI. Here's the problem. The COO of OpenAI got up on stage. He was being interviewed in a fireside chat in Davos. Got asked the first question he was fielded. He had to field was the question of what's the killer application or what's the valuable application that's going to turn the corner on the ROI thing. The dude just straight up evaded the question, started talking about nonsense for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then goes, well, I guess that was a long answer to your question. It's like, well, no, that wasn't even an answer to the question, but it was certainly a long evasion of
That's a long answer.
And that is the problem. We've seen Elon do it on stage where he literally had a silent pause for almost a minute, contemplating what are we going to do with this stuff? And I think that's like the biggest problem. Again, going back to fake economy, we're making all these capital investments in this quote unquote infrastructure. And nobody seems to have an idea what to use this for unless you think that the public it's not good for the public to know. So
here's the new tagline. We're going to drill, baby, drill so that we can train, baby, train.
Train, baby, train.
Train, baby, train.
Well, and this is why Edge AI is so important. That's
yes.
And don't forget
AI in the real world. AI.
Don't forget. And so here's what I think really is going to happen. It's easy. We can prognosticate and say this is going to crash and burn or it's not going to work out. I think initial stuff is going to happen. Like let's just take year one, the $100 billion. That's going to happen. The data centers are going to get built. And also don't forget, it's not, you think this sounds crazy. Satya came out a few weeks ago and it's like Microsoft's going to spend $80 billion this year, also building more data centers.
Yeah.
And of course, as Elon pointed out on X, after he was bashing, saying Masa doesn't have the money, and he goes, but Satya does have the money. Actually, I do know that, which is right, because Microsoft's got more money, them and Apple have more money than anybody just laying around in offshore bank accounts, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's right here around Redmond.
It's right around Redmond, exactly. The Bank of Redmond. Yeah. And so I think all that's going to happen. It's possible, though, that we're going to see an evolution. All right, you know how we talk about vertical integration with companies? Apple's a great example. You're getting components and things from so many people in your supply chain, and over time, you do more and more and more of it yourself because you're trying to cut down costs and everything. Maybe we're going to see this emergence of this new level of verticalization where companies who are building these data centers have to go in the energy business, the energy creation business.
Well, they kind of are. I mean, look at Microsoft AWS investments in power. They're doing it so they can power their data centers behind the meter, and they don't have to worry about the
That's right. Grid. This is like the new Rockefeller. This is new, Standard Oil all over again.
And if there's any excess power from those nuclear plants, they'll sell it back to the public utility at a profit,
Yeah.
That's that arbitrage game right there.
Boom.
100%. But I mean, okay, so yes, I believe that they're going to go ahead and try to do this. Yes, I do believe that they are.
They'll break ground on it. They'll build a data center. Yeah.
So Oracle, and I mean, you guys probably know this. Oracle is doing this, right? Because Oracle is pumping up their cloud, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's the OCNE that they're playing that game in. They jumped into the Kubernetes game because they see everybody going towards Kubernetes. So they're like, we're doing it as well. They have zero footprint, but they are encouraging people jump on OCNE. And I'm like, okay, Red Hat is going to kill you. So stop that. But they're pumping up their cloud game so that they can be in the conversation. And right now they're sitting behind GCP. So I don't see where this is going to change anything.
I don't think there's any downside to Oracle on this one. Like you said, I mean, they're coming from behind. They're getting a pole position. Worst case is they build a data center, they get some compute out of it, and when it doesn't really pan out, that data center is going to then get utilized by other cloud providers and by Vultr and by everyone else who can be happy to use those racks for compute. So,
but the scary thing about this stuff, though, is that if they don't find markets for this stuff, whether it's public or private, none of this infrastructure is reusable for general purpose compute. It's all supercomputing architecture, infrastructure, and the downside potential and damage that can happen is astronomical, people. That's what people realize, and why they have to continue to perpetuate this narrative. But there is true urgency. You smell it. To figure out where they can monetize. And you can't monetize the model. You have to convert it into a service, provide it as some sort of SaaS or
the inferencing is where you make the money.
Exactly. And without that, and Perplexity, everyone's just giving this stuff away for free. But I wanted to give Debbie a chance to speak because she's probably she hasn't spoken enough. Your thoughts? You have any other reactions, Debbie? Is she still around?
You might be refilling her coffee. I was going to say, Leonard, one thing for the audience to understand is...
sorry, I have to take myself off mute.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Okay.
In addition, a lot of what they want is the data, right? OpenAI will eventually sell that data. That's what they want. So the eyes are the prize. The eyes are the prize. So they want people's attention. They want their data because that's a asset that they can sell over and over and over again. So that's what they're doing. So that's another reason why they're trying to push into the agent thing. Yeah. Because all you're doing is creating more data, more information that you can package up and sell.
I think to Leonard's point too, as for those this my understanding is when you lay out a data center that's designed for training, you're laying out physically the equipment in the racks in a certain configuration to optimize for performance. Whereas a general purpose data center would not have that kind of configuration and layout. So I think you could take like a data center that was laid out for training and use it for general purpose compute, but you couldn't do the opposite. You couldn't take a general purpose data center, and you could, but it just wouldn't be very efficient. So it's just a little interesting nuance. People that are into the data center business, there's certain ways of laying these things out that are optimized for.
We use an anecdote. It's like these data centers built for supercompute are like a giant Cummins 4,000 horsepower engine. If I wanted to put that in my 2002 Honda Civic, which is like
good,
it's not gonna. Like it will work, but it won't be too efficient. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically, you can use it for your wood chipper, but you probably don't have a tree that big to put it in there. So I've seen it. Even my old Volvo, I see people put V8s in that thing. But
is this like when Boeing decided to put the extra large GE aircraft engines when they created the 737 MAX? And it destabilizes the airplane so much that they had all this computer stuff to keep it stable and everything because they said, let's go big and put a big engine on a plane that can't hit.
Hashtag outsourcing.
Yes. Yeah. Like hashtag the Dreamliner. Let's have every country in the world build a component for this plane so that people will buy it from us.
When they had all of that stabilization and they were so that plane had so many sensors on it. That's where, to be honest, that's where Predix came from.
They had sensors to monitor the sensors,
Absolutely. Aircraft engine monitoring for GE was the number one thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's where it
Yeah.
all came from. And
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
so it's interesting that you said that. That reminded me.
Yeah. So when you think about all this and we're thinking it's crazy and it's a hype train, it probably is. But as you know, this whole thing is being positioned as the new space race. Just like the Americans and Soviets in the 60s.
The AI gap.
It's the AI gap. And so
the
when
arms
people say,
gap.
this is insane, and I can't believe you're going to spend all this money and build all this stuff, and all the problems that we've all described here because we're the smartest people on the planet, but they'll say, you got to listen to me. This is important. We got to beat the Chinese. You got to beat China in the AI race. You know, you don't want to be a loser. Okay. And so we're going to spend this money. I just talked to the crown prince of Saudi Arabia and he said, I'm going to give you 600 billion. I said, why don't you round it up to $1 trillion?
But you know, he's going to get billions and billions.
Yeah.
Billions and billions.
Exactly. So,
yeah. Well, going back to your original point, Rob, there's no shortage of money, even if it's borrowed, right? Doesn't matter. It's math. And so who can build the bigger who can claim to build the bigger thing to scare everyone else into following their lead, you know?
Yeah, but you know, it's the biggest bubble. Could be the biggest. It probably is the biggest bubble in history. You know, it's scary. And you know, when that bubble pops, you know, we should all be concerned about where we land.
Yeah.
It's true.
I still think going back to chips, if you don't control that from beginning to end, I don't see how you can dominate in this space, right? So there's still, you know, the China discussion that has to be had, or the fact that a lot of this, the chips that we need, that we want, really aren't made here, or a lot of the companies that we're talking about, a significant amount of their infrastructure is made out of the U.S. So if you can't control that, I feel like it's going to be hard to dominate truly in that space.
You know, you said the word chips, and it reminded me of the CHIPS Act. Lots of people have been commenting about this whole thing and going, well, this is better than the CHIPS Act because the CHIPS Act was going to use, you know, $20 zillion of U.S. taxpayer money to build all this stuff, and like nothing's happened. At least this is going to be private money to go after this, and they're not going to be soaking up taxpayers.
But the CHIPS Act has created like a ton of new jobs and like a lot of investment in fab infrastructure and like a lot of good stuff. So
all that new Intel stuff in Ohio.
That they're going to throttle back. Yeah.
Oh, poor Pat. Poor Pat. We love
not
Pat.
his problem now.
Yeah, it's not his problem. You're right. I
think to Debbie's point, I mean, I agree. But I think that it's going to be a matter of keeping it in the family. So like the likes of Supermicro and NVIDIA partnering up. I mean, those two CEOs went to school together.
Boom. Yeah.
So it's going to be a, you know, that's that whole you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Right.
And I think that
and maybe more verticalization too in the space, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The gal from AMD is like second cousins with Jensen.
Lisa Su, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, imagine Thanksgiving with these folks. I love an invitation.
Me too.
Thanksgiving, I just want to go on the family vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go gambling in Macau.
That like filthy rich agents, or what's that movie called?
Crazy Rich Asians. That was a good movie, actually. I like that.
Good, yeah.
You know, it's always fun to swim in the pool there on top of the sands in Singapore, isn't it? Yeah. It's always a good deal. So this is not a stock. I know there's some other tech analyst firms that are also pretending to be in the financial industry. We've warned you in advance, but if you get a sense of a bubble and a hype machine and the train is going, you're in your mind, you might going, so who is benefiting from all this money and all this activity? And I think we've listed the names of all the players that are going to benefit from this. And even if the thing blows up, it's going to be a little bit before it blows up, several years. minimum. And so I don't know. I'm not
it blows
encouraging anybody to do anything crazy, but you can imagine, like, your 401k, your retirement portfolio. I don't know. I see rocket ships heading in a certain direction, at least for a period of time. Obviously, though, you want to get that phone call before the crash happens so that you can sell. So
Do we really need to do this, Rob? I mean,
I think they still sell the gold bullion bars at Costco.
Yes, they do.
yeah,
A lot of gold bars.
Stick to our motto. Take us seriously at your own risk.
Yeah, this is for entertainment purposes only. We're just a bunch of idiots saying random stuff. We're a bunch of rando people. We don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So SEC, just stay away from us, okay? Just back off.
No idea.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right, well, I'll see all of you in Austin, Texas. If people haven't gotten their tickets yet, we're probably going to sell out starting next week. So AJI.Foundation. So AJI.Foundation, get your tickets February 25th. You'll see a bunch of these folks here in the flesh,
Absolutely.
in person.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a Stargate tie-in with Edge AI.
Yes, Stargate themed drinks.
Yes. Oh my God.
Perfect timing. All right.
Did you just arrive where you're going, Leonard?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm at the damn show, so.
Oh, the NAMM show. Yeah, I have some friends who are going to that.
Cool.
That's
Always
the cool
cool
show.
gear there. Cool gear.
So do I close us out? Are we done?
Yes. Close this out, Dave.
Good
Hey.
job.
Folks, you have made it to the end of another episode, the only quantum episode available on the interwebs. Three reminders from the top. Number one, check out our charity where you can keep helping kids closing the digital divide. Okay? What's the name, Rob?
Elevate our kids.
Thank you. Number two, to Pete's point, in Austin, in February the 25th to the 27th, the community of HAI will be there. Go check out what's really happening. Do not miss that show. What will be announcement number three? Keep coming back to this every week. We are the only show that when you pump, we do not dump. Okay? So you want to stick with IoT Coffee Talk and take our advice at your own risk. Do not make investment decisions on anything you hear here ever. So with that, we'll see you guys next week. And thank you to all of our guests that come from all over the globe to connect on delivering this to you. IoTCoffeeTalk.com, over and out.